live for nothing or die for something.
Welcome once again, my fellow manipulators of digital fate. I'm Richie, this is Capricorn. Today's deck is one I've been wanting to build ever since spoiler season, but it felt a little too paint by numbers at first. But then I found a way, a twist if you will, to make it my own that felt really good. And really, we ended up cross-synergizing two different synergies at the same time in one deck. This deck is called Paradise Lost. And the idea here is we're playing Rakdos Outlaws. We're playing them in a sort of sacrifice aristocrat style shell. But then we're doubling down on those synergies with also a lot of descending. And the descending lines up perfectly well with what we're trying to do with this sacrifice style deck with Outlaws. And it's kind of just perfect. And the deck ended up being way better than I thought. And got wins way quicker than I expected, so it's kind of a doozy. But before we get to that, make sure you like the video if you haven't already. It's you guys that have been liking the videos all along that have helped this channel to grow so quick, and I appreciate it so much. So if you haven't yet, please like. It does help this video get out to so many more people. Also, if you're new, make sure you subscribe so you never miss an upload. Tons of deck techs on the way, some spoiler stuff on the way as well, so you can look forward to that. And catch me live Monday through Friday over on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/quarantinedcapricorn, because if I'm alive and I'm breathing, I'm there and I'm streaming. If you're seeing this video the day it goes up, it is Mythic Monday, which means Mythic Marathon. I'm starting a new thing the first Monday of every month. When the season has reset, we're going to do what's called Mythic Marathon, which means I'm going to get on at noon Eastern Standard Time, start streaming, and I'm not going to stop until we hit Mythic, which is kind of crazy. We're also going to use this as a way to try and get sort of a membership, try to push the memberships. So it's going to be kind of like a membership pledge drive for YouTube. Get some people to sign up as channel members, hopefully, throughout the course of the stream. We're going to be streaming it simultaneously to YouTube. I normally only stream on Twitch. So if it goes well and, you know, we can get a lot of memberships going, maybe I'll start bringing live streams to YouTube indefinitely. And start doing them every week, and maybe I'll start making this Mythic Marathon Monday a thing every season, the first Monday of every month. So all of that is just kind of thoughts right now that are rumbling around in my head, but we're definitely going to go live tomorrow. We're going to do the damn thing. We're going to have a membership pledge drive and hopefully get a bunch of new channel members. I'll interact with you guys live while we're trying to climb to Mythic, and it should be a ton of fun. So make sure you show up for that. But before all of that, it's all about this deck, right? And this deck is wild, so let's break it down. Alright, so the idea behind this deck is very simple. We're going wide with Outlaws and trying to utilize them in some sort of an aristocrat sacrifice style deck where we get a ton of value off of our guys dying. Now, what makes this deck really cool is the fact that we're able to cross-synergize our strategy with not only are we going wide and getting triggers off of our Outlaws dying, but we have a lot of descend triggers as well that lets us double up on the benefits we get from our stuff going to the graveyard. So, to start off, we've got 𝐿 Posse Boss, 4 mana for a 2/4 Lizard Rogue. Other Outlaws you control have haste. And also, when he enters the battlefield, you create 2 1/1 red mercenary creature tokens that can tap to give another creature +1/+0 until end of turn at sorcery speed. So we've got 3 of these guys. Giving all of your Outlaws haste is pretty gnarly. Getting 3 bodies for just 1 card is pretty gnarly. It just enables a lot of what we're trying to do with the deck. And then to go alongside that, we have Rakish Crew for 3 mana. It's an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, it's going to give us a 1/1 red mercenary that can tap to give any creature +1/+0 until end of turn at sorcery speed. And then also, while the enchantment's on the battlefield, it's kind of like a Bastion of Remembrance, if you remember that card, except it only works for Outlaws. So whenever an Outlaw you control dies, you're going to drain for 1 life. And since we're going super wide with Outlaws with the help of 𝐿 Posse Boss, we're able to essentially set up really big board states where if they kill all of our stuff, we drain them for enough damage to kill them. That's kind of the end goal. So we're trying to go as wide as possible. Let's start at the bottom of the curve. We've got 3 Greedy Freebooters, because we get even more value off this when it dies. It scries 1 and makes us a treasure token so that we can ramp into our more effective creatures. And of course, it is an outlaw. All of the creatures in this deck are outlaws. It's this one in this one's case, it's a pirate. So keep that in mind. And then we've also got 3 Nezumi Linkbreakers to go alongside those 3 Greedy Freebooters. I'm tired, guys. Give me a break. This is a 1/1 Rat Warlock for 1, and when he dies, he makes a red mercenary creature token that can tap to give something +1/+0 until end of turn. So this is a nice way to chump block early in the game, or maybe have sack fodder later in the game, trigger our Rakish Crew, but then also get another token to replace it that can also later on trigger our Rakish Crew. And keep in mind, when we have the 𝐿//𝑠𝑝𝑒𝑟 Posse boss down, everything's going to have haste, which means when you make that mercenary off the Linkbreaker dying, that mercenary could theoretically tap to buff something up that very turn, or maybe swing in that same turn, or whatever the case may be. Now, to go alongside these 3 copies of Freebooter and Linkbreaker, we've got 4 Stalactite Stalkers. In my original brew, I wasn't using this at all, and then I started to realize just how deep this deck could sort of slant towards Descend, and how much Descend started to matter. And to be honest, Descend actually matters in this deck, I think, more than the whole Sacrifice sub-theme. And I think they both work in a way where they work with each other, and those synergies overlap, which is really nice. But I think Descend ended up being a very, very fundamentally important part of this deck. So this is a 1/1 menace for 1. The beginning of your end step, if you descended, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on it. You can also pay 3 and sacrifice it to give a creature -X/-X until end of turn, where X is Stalactite Stalker's power. So this is going to get powered up when you descend. You're going to be able to sacrifice it to trigger a descend if you need to. But then also sacrificing it triggers committing a crime, which also matters for a lot of the outlaw sub-themes that we're going to get into. So this card as just a 1-drop kinda does it all. It gets in for early damage because of the menace, it grows over time, it allows us to commit crimes, it allows us to descend, it allows us to have another payoff for descending. It's just perfect, so we have to run the full playset of 4. Moving on to the 2-drop slot, we've got 4 Vial Smasher, Gleeful Grenadier, 2 mana in the colors of Rakdos for a 3/2 legendary Goblin Mercenary. Whenever another outlaw enters the battlefield under your control, it's going to deal 1 damage to target opponent. It's important to note you target the opponent, which means it counts as a crime. So as soon as Vial Smasher is on the battlefield, every single time we have a creature enter the battlefield, because every creature we have is an outlaw, it's going to ping the opponent, which is going to count as committing a crime. So not only are we getting a ton of pings off of outlaws entering the battlefield, which we're then able to capitalize on getting multiple drains when those outlaws leave the battlefield, which means we're pinging and draining for an awful lot and being able to close out games sometimes without even having to swing. But we're committing crimes every single time, which means anything that needs crimes to enable it, we're gonna get to trigger. And in a similar fashion, we have 4 Generous Plunderers for the same reason. This is another 2/2 menace. It is an outlaw because it's a rogue. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you get to create a treasure token, and then target opponent creates a tap treasure token, which means at the beginning of your upkeep, when you do that, you actually count as committing a crime again because you're targeting them to make a treasure token. Then, when you swing with the Generous Plunderer, you get to deal a damage to the opponent equal to the number of artifacts they have. This is going to be really, really good against decks that are playing their own artifacts anyway, because you can get a crazy amount of damage really quick off of a Generous Plunderer. But even regardless of that, being able to basically commit a crime by just pinging them for 1 for the treasure token you just made them make can also be really effective. And he has Menace, so he's hard to block. So this guy's just kind of perfect to go alongside our Vial Smasher. It helps ramp us into our more costly stuff. It helps get us more triggers. It helps us commit crimes. It kind of just does everything we want to do. We're also going to run 1 Zoyowa Lava-Tongue. It's not as good at enabling the things that we want to enable as the Vial Smasher and the Generous Plunderer. But it is a nice 2-drop that is a 2/2 Death Touch that does count as an outlaw. It is legendary. And at the beginning of your end step, if you descended this turn, each opponent may discard a card or sack a permanent, and if they don't, they take 3 damage. So it's another way of getting a ton of value off of our creatures going to the graveyard, which we're already trying to do anyway for things like the Stalker and the Rakish Crew. So nice little bit of extra payoff. Just one of these guys though, because it's not as essential as the other 2 drops. Moving on to the 3-drop slot, we have probably the MVP of the deck, Corpses of the Lost. 3 mana for an enchantment, skeletons you control get +1/+0 and have haste, and when Corpses of the Lost enters the battlefield, you make a 2/2 black skeleton pirate creature token. Since it's a pirate, it does count as an outlaw, which means it's going to trigger Vial Smasher, it's going to trigger all of our other outlaw synergies, which means if it dies while a Rakish Crew's on the battlefield, it will drain for 1. And then at the beginning of your end step, if you descended this turn, you can pay a life and return Corpses of the Lost to its owner's hand. So what you end up doing is you play Corpses of the Lost, and your opponent keeps being put in a position where you're being so aggressive where they have to kill your stuff. But if they kill your stuff, you just get to return Corpses of the Lost to your hand and replay it the next turn, and you have almost endless value to just keep throwing at your opponent's head, and they don't really have anything they can do about it. They have to trade with your creatures or use their removal on your creatures to prevent themselves from dying, and you just get to keep playing the Corpses of the Lost, getting even more creatures, and eventually just roll over them with values. So Corpses of the Lost, perfect with all of the synergies we're trying to utilize here. We've also got 1 Kaervek, because all of those crimes we're able to very easily commit, a lot of times for no mana, are going to allow us to now trigger Kaervek if we have him in play, and we can replay something from our graveyard if we have 2 life to spend, which is really, really nice, especially since, you know, Vial Smasher doesn't take any extra mana to trigger. Generous Plunderer triggers just on its own without spending any mana, so there's really easy ways to trigger the Kaervek and still have all of your mana available to play whatever you need to out of the graveyard, which is really, really nice. We've also got 1 At Knifepoint, 3 mana for an enchantment. As long as it's your turn, outlaws you control have first strike, which is a really, really nice upside, but it is not the reason we're running the card. We're running the card because for the first time, I shouldn't say for the first time, once per turn, you're allowed to, when you commit a crime, make a 1/1 red mercenary creature token with this. And you can trigger that on your opponent's turn as well. And there are ways that we can commit a crime on our opponent's turn, such as sacrificing the Stalactite Stalker. So a lot of times we can just keep dumping out mercenaries with this. And what's really cool is, like, we play a creature while Vial Smasher's on the battlefield, it triggers the Vial Smasher, they take 1. Because they took 1, it's committing a crime, and then At Knifepoint spits out another token, which then also triggers the Vial Smasher, they take another point of damage, and then when that token dies, it can trigger the Rakish Crew, so you can get a really crazy engine going with At Knifepoint. That being said, there's a lot of cards that want to be in this deck, and the first ability of giving first strike does get redundant with extra copies, so I think the first one is a top priority, make sure we at least get that first copy in there, but I think extra copies end up going down in value just a little bit, and even though they're probably still good enough to run the extra copies, I think there are better cards, so we are going to stick to just 1 copy here. And then we have Laughing Jasper Flint in a similar fashion, just one of these because it's legendary. It's a 4/3 Lizard Rogue for 3 mana. Creatures you control but don't own are mercenaries, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you exile the top X cards of target opponent's library, where X is the number of outlaws you control. Until end of turn, you may cast spells from among those cards, and mana of any type can be spent to cast those spells. So we're going super wide with outlaws anyway. It would be silly not to at least put 1 Laughing Jasper Flint in the deck. Sometimes it can be an alternate win condition that lets us mill out our opponents, but no matter what, we go so wide with outlaws that we should be able to play a bunch of stuff off of our opponent's, the top of our opponent's deck. And then if any of those are creatures, we're going even wider with outlaws because they're going to count as outlaws because of his first ability there. So pretty good inclusion as just a one of. I don't think he's necessary. He's a little bit on the win more side, just a little bit. So we are going to keep him to just 1 copy, but I think he's good enough that we should just at least run the 1. And then moving on, we've got 1 Geesa the Hellraiser. We have enough ways to commit crimes that being able to make 2 2/2s every time we commit a crime, at least for the first time we commit a crime each turn, can get really, really powerful really quick. But even outside of that, giving all of our skeletons and zombies +1/+1 in menace, and just being a 4/4 body that's hard to get rid of because of the ward 2 and pay 2 life is kind of good enough on its own. So I think it's really good to just have one 𝑘𝒂𝒊𝒕 at the top end here being legendary. It is an outlaw itself, so it can trigger things like Vial Smasher and the Rakish Crew, so I think the one copy's worth playing. But the better 5-drop for this deck, in my opinion, is Rakdos the Muscle. 5 mana for a 6/5 flying trample legendary demon mercenary. Whenever you sack another creature, you get to exile cards equal to its mana value from the top of target player's library, and until your next end step, you may play those cards, and mana of any type can be spent to cast those spells, which is really, really nice. You can just kind of mill somebody out super quick in a similar fashion as Laughing Jasper Flint, but then he also has this other ability where you have a sacrifice enabler built in where you can sacrifice another creature without paying any mana whatsoever, and then Rakdos the Muscle gains indestructible until end of turn. You have to tap it, but that's fine. So being able to survive certain pieces of removal or certain creature interactions, not have to trade, and having built-in win condition potential, this guy's just a really, really good top-end piece as just a one-of because he's legendary, but we don't need him to win. Both Rakdos and 𝑘𝒂𝒊𝒕 are kind of just extra, right? The deck is going to function super well just being low to the curve. Having the curve be low to the ground. And then the last card I want to talk about is we have 2 copies of Hollow Marauder. This is one I'd actually like to add more of if we could, but it really only gets a decent cost reduction when you get to a little bit later in the game. That being said, when you do get to that mid to late game, he can be a lot of value for very, very little mana. So 4/2 flyer for 7 mana, but he costs 1 less for each creature card in your graveyard. And since most of our cards are creatures, and most of them are planning on going to the graveyard, this is probably one of the better decks to actually make use of the Hollow Marauder. So it can come down for relatively cheap later on, be a 4/2 flyer. When it enters, they have to discard a card, so it's an automatic 2-for-1. But then also, if they don't discard something that costs 4 or greater, you get to also draw a card. So it also has the potential to be a 3-for-1 for very little mana, and still trigger all of our outlaw synergies. It's still going to ping when you have a Vial Smasher in play. It's still going to drain when it dies if you have a Rakish Crew. And it could have haste if you have a ℙ𝔸℻ Posse boss out. So gets all of the values off of all of our things that we're trying to synergize with anyway. But it's also just a decently powered flyer that can help us close out certain games. So I think it's absolutely worth experimenting with and including in this deck. It is a little tricky to get this out efficiently, but I figured if any deck can do it, it's this deck. The mana base is very deep into Rakdos. We're only running 1 Restless Vents because if we can get the 1 man land down, there's never going to be a situation where we're going to have enough mana to swing with 2 of them, most likely. But we're going to run the full playset of Sulfurous Springs, Haunted Ridge, and Blackcleave Cliffs to have the best chance of having all the colors we need untapped. But then we're also running the full playset of Raucous Theater because it can be really, really key to trigger Descend on turns that we need to trigger Descend and to get the value off of that. So sometimes you might want to save that Raucous Theater for a little bit later, not necessarily play it on 1. That being said, if you don't have anything in your opening hand that really needs that Descend, you might want to just play it on 1 and get it out of the way. You're going to have to really gauge that from game to game. And then we are running just 1 Mirrex as a little bit of extra value later on, 1 Plaza of Heroes, because we do have enough legendaries in this deck to support it, and sometimes having that one thing that can protect our legendary creature when our opponent least suspects it could make all the difference in the world. And just 1 Sokenzin, 1 Takenuma, 1 Swamp, and 1 Mountain. The deck is pretty awesome. I kind of love it. It ended up being a little bit better than I thought, and it ended up being a lot faster than I thought. Like, all of the ways in which we can ping, whether it's the Vial Smasher, the Generous Plunderer, the Rakish Crew, or just giving everything haste with the Posse boss, like, there's just so many ways of dealing all of this little bits of damage that just adds up super quickly and ends games sooner than you would expect them to end. So I'm gonna shut up and stop rambling. The games were super fun, so let's check them out. Alright, this looks good. We'll keep it. Freebooter on 1, Vial Smasher on 2, followed by 2 Corpses of the Lost is pretty strong. Honestly, Corpses of the Lost with Vial Smasher is pretty strong in general. That's a lot of Blackcleave Cliffs. That is a lot of Blackcleave Cliffs. I think, as much as I want the Plunderer down, I think it's better to play the Corpses. Be aggressive. Hit in for another 7. Put him at 11 already on turn 3. Honest Rutstein. Honestly. Do some pinging. Pingy, pingy, ping, ping. And he's gonna scoop. That seems pretty good to me. Final glue. Sure. We don't have a 2-drop, which sucks, but otherwise the hand looks really good, so we're gonna keep it and hope to draw into a 2-drop. Let's see, Freebooter, Linkbreaker. Freebooter is probably better because if it dies, we get ramp so that we can get to our 3-drop quicker. Spirited Companion, sure. We will swing. He is gonna block it. Okie dokie. I mean, that's really good, but I think we need land. I don't see us playing it anytime soon. I think we'll play Rakish Crew. We could have played the Stalactite Stalker and the Linkbreaker so that we get a counter on the Stalker, and that would have been pretty good too. But I want to get a head start on our 3-drops. So I think Rakish Crew makes the most sense. Novice Inspector. Well, we got the 𝑘𝒫𝒊𝒕 Posse boss anyway. We're going to play Corpses. And we're going to give this dude a buff, and we're going to swing in. And he's going to chump. That's fine. So if we get another land, we can Posse boss, which would be pretty strong. If we don't, we probably play the Linkbreaker and the Stalker. I think, honestly, I think we probably get rid of the Kaervek at this point. It is running fine so far, which is good. Corrupted Conviction. Plays a land. Plays another Novice Inspector. That's fine. We get our land. I wanna know. We're gonna do it like this. He can trade with the 1 toughness thing. So we want to put as much damage as possible on the 4/2 to incentivize him to do a block that doesn't necessarily trade. Or 2-for-1s. I'm fine with that too, honestly. And we ping because of the Rakish Crew. And these are all going to have haste next turn because of the Posse boss. Combat Thresher. Sure. Is he playing with flicker cards? He might be. He's got the snail, the companion. Everything's got ETB abilities. Manus. Manus. Linkbreaker. We're going to put our buffs on the menace creatures. And we're going to split our buffs as best as we can. But we are going to swing with everything. We're still going to swing with the Linkbreaker even though he can block it. Because we're just going to get a mercenary to replace it and trigger our Rakish Crew and get our Corpse of the Lost back. All of that is good. All of that is good. Corrupted Conviction. Smack. We will end the turn, get counters on our stalkers, and return the Corpses of the Lost to our hand. So now we see that Descend really starting to put in work. If he has Sunfall, he escapes the wrath of the Rakish Crew. But any other sweeper takes 7 damage just from sweeping. Skull, Cap, Snail. Oh, that's unfortunate. But we top decked one. We're gonna go like this. And he's gonna scoop. Seems fine. This looks fine. We'll keep it. The only thing that sucks is we don't have a black on 1 for Freebooter. But that's okay. We can Plunderer into Corpse of the Lost and Freebooter, theoretically. Actually, probably Plunderer. Hello, Warlock. Welcome back. Appreciate you being here for the stream, hanging out. Alright. So Plunderer will ramp us into a Posse boss on turn 2. Take action. Question is, do we want the Posse boss? I think probably yes. And we'll just swing. Ping for 1, hit for another 4. Next turn's looking pretty groovy. Corpse of the Lost, Freebooter, they'll both have haste. Ping me. What else you got? Dance of the Tumbleweeds. Gonna search for a land. Not really seeing any white though. No, he's deep into Simic. And we will take advantage of that. For 1, hit for a whole bunch. We've got him at 7. He kinda has to sweep, right? Or combo off or something. Map the Frontier. I don't think that's gonna do it. Alright, return some lands. Don't know why he returns his basics. because he's got spelunking. More treasures. Now we could theoretically play 5 mana worth of stuff. Do we play the Rakish Crew or the Corpses? I mean, I think the Corpses is just going to be better, right? Does mean we're leaving ourselves vulnerable to a sweeper without a way to get, you know, to capitalize on it without the Rakish Crew out. We're going to do it like this. Colossal Rattleworm. I don't think it's enough, buddy. I do not think it's enough, my friend. Too aggressive. This looks good. We'll keep it. Start with Stalactite Stalker. Swift Spear. No blocks. Vial Smasher and Swing. And he's almost definitely going to kill the Vial Smasher here. If we can just play something next turn, we should be in a pretty good spot. Is it better to sack the Stalker to give something -1/-1, or to play a Linkbreaker? Probably play a Linkbreaker, right? We'll do it like this. Yeah, it's crazy, gods. I don't understand it. We are going to prevent as much damage as possible. Alright. Posse boss coming out to party. And in case he's got a shock, we're just going to swing with everything. We're going to use the Posse boss to block the Swift Spear. Or I guess maybe Squee. I mean, that's pretty good. Not good enough, but it's pretty good. Cliffs, Freebooter, no attacks, just hold back blockers. He shouldn't be able to one-hit us with the slick shot, but we'll see. Play with fire. That's fine. Do a little scrying. Rakish Crew. Well, we're not going to be able to play that in the same turn. It does give us the potential to gain back some life. But I think we're going to bottom it. We'll go 𝑾𝒂𝒊𝒕. We'll go Stalactite Stalker. Hey, it's working. You got it working, gods. We're down to 5. He's got 2 slick shot show-offs. 2 of them. We're not even going to swing. We're going to pass. Phoenix chick. That's 3 in the air. But we're going to kill the Phoenix chick. And that's also committing a crime, so we get some boys. And then we're going to commit a crime again with the Plunderer on our turn. Seems pretty good. Play another Stalactite Stalker. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That would put him at 1. 1. But 1 isn't dead. 1 is not dead. So, we're only going to attack with our Menace guys. We're going to hold Gisa back as a blocker. And we've got Stalactite Stalker to block something and potentially kill something else, or at least lower the power. So we might be okay. Maybe. What's your trick? No trick? Does he have a shock? Oh, it's a land. We've got him. He didn't use the treasure either. He needed to use the treasure. That's a lot of Raucous Theaters. We'll try and keep it. We want to put creatures in the yard for Hollow Marauder, if we can. As much as I want that Posse boss, let's bottom it. Alright, Cliffs, Plunderer. Speaker. Take action. We will give you the mana. Well, we definitely want to play you. And we definitely want to play you. And then I want a Raucous Theater so that I can grow my Stalactite Stalker. And then I'm going to swing for 3. Pass the turn. Stalker gets bigger. Yeah, this deck is built upon Descend. It's sneakily the focus. It seems like Outlaws are the focus. But it is sneakily Descend. Ah, you showed them High Noon. Excellent. 𝑇𝑒𝑟𝑟𝑎𝑐ℎ Posse boss. Well, we'll start by playing you. I guess we play the theater. Ooh, that kind of hurts, but we need to descend. And then we'll swing, get 2 triggers that hit for a total of 6. And he's almost dead. Even with that damn Fleetfoot Dancer having lifelink. He does have a lot of mana though. So we'll see what happens. Plays Nissa. Make a treasure. Do it. Nope. No treasure for him. I'm really surprised he's not using his treasure mana first. Because of the plunderers. Cemetery Prowler. That's fine. Das East fine. Six mana. 6 mana for this boy. Two, 3. So if we do that, and then we do that. I got plans. Take 6, go to 3. We can use the Stalker at instant speed to make something -3/-3. Eh? Yes, Menace. Welcome to Menace. Welcome to Menace. Alright, so the 3/3. It's not even going to matter because we're going to sack it. The 4/4 also doesn't matter. But we'll say this, and then we'll say this. We're gonna sack the Stalker to kill the Nissa. He gains no life off the Fleetfoot Dancer, and we kill him. Seems about right. You know, I'd prefer a 3rd land, but I think I'm gonna keep this. I think I'm gonna keep this. Pack leader. We'll play Freebooter here. Go ahead and swing into my Freebooter, Mr. Pack leader. Sucker. You sucker. Hollow Marauder. I mean, we do have a bunch of cards that are probably going to be in the grave soon, but let's bottom that. I think we use this opportunity to get out a Rakish Crew. We don't know when we'll get a 3rd land. Although it might have been better to do something like play the Stalkers or the Linkbreakers and just save the treasure for next turn. I mean, sure. I'll block your Hydra. You can have a treasure and also get drained for 1. That seems fine. We're going to do 1 and 1. Yeah, mono red is problematic, man. Like I said, there's no way that Slick Shot doesn't get banned. There is 0 way that Slick Shot does not get banned. Alright, we're stuck on 2 lands, but we're making the most of it. Really glad I got that Rakish Crew out when I did. That's 4. We'll play the Plunderer. It looks like he's stuck on 2 as well, so I mean, I don't have to feel so bad. Sandstorm Salvager. That card actually seems really fun. Have a treasure. At Knifepoint. At Knifepoint. Man, that is tempting. That is real tempting. That is real tempting. I don't think it's quite going to work just yet, though. I think we're going to go with corpses here. And we're just going to swing with everything but the Plunderer. And then we trigger Rakish Crew and Corpses of the Lost comes back to our hand. And the Stalkers get bigger. All of that seems wonderful. Next turn we should be able to attack with the Plunderer easily. Yeah, Monstrous Rage is too good too. Alright, we've got another 3 mana. I kinda almost think we just Rakish Crew. I think he dies if we Rakish Crew. Because of all the menace. And then we just swing. Right? He takes 2 from the Plunderer. He can't block all the menace stuff. Even if he could, the Rakish Crew's drain for 2 every time something dies. Alright. Alright, we'll keep this. We've got 2 pain lands, but I mean, we'll see what we can do about it. I'm going to play a Stalactite Stalker out. I'm going to wait on the theater. Hey! Shut up! I'm going to save the theater because I want to trigger my Stalker. Might also be able to put something in the yard for Hollow Marauder, which would be nice. Alright, so Vial Smashers first. Silence! Sure. And we do descend because of that, so we get a counter on the Stalker, which is nice. Alright, we're gonna swing. We're gonna play Zoyowa. And then we're gonna descend with a Raucous Theater. Goodbye, Vial Smasher. Hardly knew ya. Triggers both Zoyowa and the Stalker. It's gonna take the damage. Hey, what's up, Lewis? How do we want to do this? I guess we just swing, right? Because if he kills things, then the Hollow Marauder ends up being cheap enough to play. So we're just going to swing. We're going to see what he does. Although he could Wandering Emperor here, which would kind of be a bummer. Because we don't descend if he exiles. Yeah. I still think it's worth doing, though.
Now you've done it. Hat's coming off.
Let me think. I think we actually do it like this. We sack it so he gets no life and it doesn't get exiled, so that it's in the graveyard for Hollow Marauder next turn, and we get the trigger off Zoyowa. I think that's correct.
How we greet our enemies.
Rakish Crew. Even if he kills both of these, we won't have enough to play the Marauder if we also play the Rakish Crew. I think we really want to play the Marauder, so we're going to try doing this. ℃𝒂𝒊𝒕, sure. And now the Hollow Marauder is only 3. So we'll play it. He's only got colorless mana. Target you. Discards a card. We do not get to draw a card because he discarded a Memory Deluge. Down to 3 cards in hand.
We've got the edge in this fight.
So many options here. So many options. I think we just have to swing to start and see what happens. Plays the Memory Deluge, but he accidentally used up all of his colored mana, so he doesn't really have an answer, right? So we'll play Rakdos. We'll end the turn. So we can sack the Hollow Marauder to the Rakdos to exile 7 cards from the top of his library. That's crazy. Sure. He's down to 2 life too, so if he has to use the Pain Land, oh god. Oh god. It's not. I think it's going to be a lot of mono red that makes people feel real bad. We're going to keep this. That stuff can matter, but it's very much the exception, not the rule. And they impact things in very niche ways in comparison to, you know, how the ranked ladder impacts things on Arena. That is 100% accurate. Alright, we will swing. And then we will play the theater and try to descend so that we can get counters on the stalkers. Does stink having to throw away our Rakish Crew though, not gonna lie. I think we bought him that actually. You know what? I should have played 𝐾𝐿𝐴𝑛𝑐𝑒 actually. I could have played Vial Smasher and Corpses. We'll just do this. We lose out on a point of damage. I should have played the 𝐾𝐿𝐴𝑛𝑐𝑒. But it's okay. Ow. That was very rude. Alright, so we're going to have 6 mana no matter what. We could spend 4 on the vents. And swing. Discard the Murex. And then we'll play the Vial Smasher. And then we have 𝑘𝒂𝒊𝒕 next turn. 𝑘𝒂𝒊𝒕 triggers Vial Smasher, commits a crime, gets some boys, triggers Vial Smasher again. Seems pretty good. And we will swing. Do you have a Wandering Emperor, sir? No, you have a Turn the Earth. And then you have a Farewell. But we do have a Restless Vents. So, it's not over. Although the 𝑘𝒂𝒊𝒕 definitely helps. Damn, that's 3 lands in a row. That's 3 lands in a row. Rakish Crew. Well, we're going to start with this. Try and hit his instant speed removal out of his hand. We'll get rid of the Haunted Ridge. Okay, we hit for 2. We'll play Rakish Crew. Gonna counter it. And make another 𝑘𝒂𝒊𝒕. Okay, well, welcome to life. I mean, we probably gotta swing, right? We'll discard the At Knifepoint. See if we can find something a little better. Another Generous Plunderer. Right. We're gonna hit for 2. We'll try to play out the Plunderer. Does he have a counterspell? He's got 8 mana, so I mean... Alright, depopulate. I get it. Do you have another counterspell? Play it. Play it! Did you just discard the farewell? Well, okay then. Fucking depopulate. Just keep going. Just keep going. It'll be fine. Swing. Discard the theater. Another land, of course. We're trying, guys. We're trying. We are trying so hard. These cornucopias are so annoying. I can't believe how annoying. Oh, God. Would you stop it? Would you stop it? Now he's got 3 of them. Masturbation's lost its fun. You know what I like about this deck? Nothing. Not a goddamn thing. Get pinged. Does he have another sweeper? He's got to, right? He's been digging through his deck. See, depop, farewell, depop. He's Shigekking. Shigekking. Alright, he's got lots of counterspells then. But he doesn't have a way to hit the board, so he must have like a sweeper in hand. Right? Well, at least he gets no life off of playing Pithing Needle. Restless Vents can't become a creature, and he's got the no witness. God damn you. God damn you. He didn't counterspell it. Crazy. Shigeki is back. He's just gonna keep going forever, apparently. Counterspell. Make another cornucopia. We just can't beat the cornucopia. If you were to have told me during spoiler season that this was the card we just couldn't beat, I would have laughed at you. I would have laughed. But we just can't push through it. He just makes a million of them. Not enough. 32. I mean, this deck can definitely go off in a single turn under the right circumstances. The problem is Shigeki. Honestly, I think with enough time we could push through all the life gain from the cornucopias, but we can't push through all the life gain with the cornucopias with him just constantly using Shigeki to get back everything he needs over and over and over again. I think that's the main problem. But I don't want to concede. I want to actually lose. I might put this on the YouTube video. Alright, he's up above full health now. I mean, we could maybe mill him out, right? I'm sure he has something in the deck to stop that. But we could maybe get around the thing he has in the deck to stop it if we play it correctly. We do have Rakdos in this deck, so if we happen to land a Rakdos and we have enough stuff on board, we could just use Rakdos to mill him out the final few cards. If he gets down to like 3 or 4 cards that he just keeps putting back into his library. Right? So it's not completely hopeless. It's very unlikely, though. Like, we're not winning through damage. That's just not happening. We're not even going to attack anymore. There's no reason to. We can't kill him through damage. Our only chance is to get Rakdos, and for him, his hubris, to not see us as having a chance, and to leave us a window to resolve a Rakdos. And then make him mill himself with the Rakdos. That's really it. That's a lot. That's a lot of cornucopias. I mean, he's just gonna counter whatever we play, right? Brutal. We're almost dead. He's not going to wait to mill us out. And he can do it again, and now he's got lethal. Yep. He's got us. Jeez Louise. That was painful. This looks fine. We'll keep it. We don't have a lot of our cheap stuff, but I don't think we really need it. We're definitely not going to save the Raucous Theater, because we need to make sure we can play our more expensive stuff on curve and not be held back. Yeah, we're not going to be able to play that anytime soon. It's going to be Vial Smasher into 3-drop, 3-drop, 3-drop. Alright, Vial Smasher's in play. I think we need At Knifepoint down first. Laughing Jasper Flint would be really nice, but I think we need to get as much value out of the At Knifepoint as possible. So we just need to get it on the battlefield. Thrawn Spider, sure. And we has a 4/4 and a Power Stone, which I don't think we can use. So we're going to start with the Posse boss. Get the trigger for At Knifepoint. Get some more triggers. And then we're going to beef up our Vial Smasher. And swing and trade. Oh wait, it has first strike. So we don't have to trade. At Knifepoint. What a card. What a card. Circuit Mender. Do we play Rakish Crew or Corpses of the Lost? That's the question. I think we go with the Rakish Crew. Start getting value off of him killing our stuff, most likely. Linkbreaker. And then we go, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we'll swing with the Linkbreaker. I Ganjos it. We get some triggers. Lots of drainy triggers. We'll end the turn. So we should be pretty good. He's gonna kill something with the Leveler. Probably the Vial Smasher. He didn't unearth it. Oh, he's one short, isn't he? It's one short. Look at this insanity. Look at this insanity. Alright, we gotta get everything up to 5. So we'll do this. We'll do this. And this. And this. And this. And this. And then we'll swing. He loses his board, takes 1, takes another 3 from the Rakish Crews. Oh wait, no, we have first strike. We have first strike, so it doesn't even matter. Sunfall? He'd have to have farewell at this point, right? Simulation Aegis, that's something. Yowza. Play a Vial Smasher. And then, how do we perform a crime to trigger that Vial Smasher? Let's do this. Right? That'll work. And then we just swing with everything, because why not? GG's, boyo. We didn't even have to use Laughing Jasper Flint. We could have. I was assuming we were going to have to mill him out because of the insane board presence he was going to make. I figured we'd get into a standstill with where my little 1/1 guys were chump blocking so that he couldn't kill us with his huge tokens. And we'd eventually have to mill him out with Laughing Jasper Flint, but we were pinging for so much damage, just doesn't even matter. What is he doing? Nice. Why? Does he know how to play Magic? He's playing 3 Monty. What the fuck is going on? What is going on? I can't even. Okay. Thanks so much for checking out my channel. I'd like to give a huge shout out to all of my patrons over at Patreon. Without you guys, this channel would not be possible, so honestly, thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of your contributions. If you haven't yet, like and subscribe. The more likes we get and the quicker we get them, the bigger this channel will grow and the faster it will grow. I'd love nothing more than this channel to become something very special for you guys, but it's entirely up to you how fast that happens. Also, if you'd like more deck text, that's somewhere over there. And if you'd like to see what else the channel's been up to lately, that's somewhere up that way. Also, subscribe, circle below, do all the things.